welcome back. It's been a few minutes since my last video. Um, Honestly, I have been in a reading slump. I have, I think I read one book in November. I'm up to 3 or 4 books December, but yeah, reading slump. I tried to deny it. It didn't work. Yeah. I'm slowly clawing out of it. I'm getting there. Um, but apparently, when I'm in a reading slump, that equals a filming slump as well, and been I've not been in the mood to read, I've not been in the mood to film anything, which means I go a little over a month without producing anything. Um yeah. But we're clawing our way back and we're gonna try this. We're gonna do this. I'm definitely filming at least 2 videos tonight. The third one's gonna be a tag video if I can decide on all my answers to it. There's a couple that they've left me a little bit stumped, but we'll see how that goes. But anyway, you're not here to, well, you are here to listen to me ramble for whatever reason. I don't know. Why'd you guys watch me? Come on, guys. But yeah, anyway, that is not the point of today's video. Today, we're just going to have a look at 2022. I have been so tempted to keep saying 2020. Like, that year was not horrific enough that apparently I'm stretching it to 3 years long. But no, we're going to look at 2022 and have a look at the reading goals that I set myself and how well I did not do. So yeah, around about this time last year, I think I did one video at the end of pretty much this time last year, which was, here are 12 books that I want to read next year. That's a laugh. And then I think at the start of the year, I think it was the start of the year, I hear like my rough general goals of how I did, of like what I want to achieve. So we're gonna go through those two, and then depending on how I feel, we'll go through my 2022 reading stats on Storygraph to just have like a general overview of like, this is what my reading year looked like. So yeah, the 12 books I was going to read in 2022. Also, I apologize for the lighting. You can see my laptop reflecting on my glasses. I can't do anything about that. I mean, I probably could. I could move the laptop, but I like having it right in front of me. I should have filmed this in the limited amount of daylight that we got today, but I didn't. I was video chatting with a couple of friends instead. So now we're filming this at night, and the lighting is what you see. But yeah, anyway, of those 12 books, let me tell you why I didn't read those 12 books. Okay, so the first one I mentioned was Sparrow Falling. Okay, I'll put pictures up probably here. So yeah, the first one was Sparrow Falling. I have a legitimate reason for not reading that one. Turns out it's a sequel. It's just really badly, like, when I bought the book, it reads like like the blurb and everything reads like it's a standalone. Yeah, no, it's a sequel, and I've just not been able to get my hands on the first one. I think it's like Shanghai Falling or something like that. The next one is All the Birds in the Sky. I have no excuse, I just didn't read it. Then we've got The Bear and the Nightingale. I think this one, I think I've heard too many good things about it, and it is now falling into that, it's so popular and so many people like this. I might just need to leave it for a little while longer before I pick it up. The next one I did start to read, and that was The Lies of Locke Lamora. I got about 50 or so pages into the book again, and I wasn't feeling it. So then I picked up the audio because I was like, maybe it's just not working for me physically, like the words, like reading them are not working for me. Maybe this is one of those books that I'm gonna have to listen to, because there are books out there that work better for me as an audio than they do reading. I got about 6 hours into it, and the only reason I got 6 hours into it is because I was driving and I couldn't switch it off. I'm sorry, I know it's a really unpopular opinion. I know this is a really popular book, but I didn't care about any of the characters. I can't even say I cared enough to dislike them. I just didn't care. I didn't care about any of the plot. I really struggled to find plot at times. And it could be that I just didn't give it enough of a chance, but The Lies of Locke Lamora was a chore to read, and there's too many books to read in the world to read the books that feel like chores. So, yeah, Lies of Locke Lamora got DNF'd and unhauled. I don't have that book anymore. Excuse me. The next one I had on that list was Heresy, which is a historical murder mystery. I love historical murder mysteries. But if you go through my story graph later, we will notice that I've not read a lot of I've not really read a lot of dark stuff this year. A lot of my reading has been that lighter, fluffier, make me feel good books. Heresy, I think it's just that bit too dark and heavy for me this year. So it's still on my shelf. I'm still super, like, with the exception of Lies of Locke Lamora, everything is still on my shelf and I'm still super excited to read it. It's just not clicked with me this year. It's not been the year for it. The next one was House of Earth and Blood. Now, at the end of last year, I read the first 2 books for the Throne of Glass series. Between Christmas and New Year, I read ACOTAR, because I actually got it as a Secret Santa present. And then the start of this year, I finished ACOTAR. I read everything in that series. I don't think it's a fully complete, I think she might still be writing in that world. I'm not 100% certain, but everything she's written for that world I have now read. Excuse me. And I think I just read, I Sarah J. Maas'd myself out. I read too much Sarah J. Maas that when I went to pick up House of Earth and Blood, I was just like, nah, too much. So maybe next year, maybe the year after. It's still in there. It's still got its pretty red sprayed edges. Yeah. I am fairly certain I'm going to really enjoy it because I have, for the most part, enjoyed everything I've read by Sarah J. Maas, and like the tone of the writing and how it's come across. Like I saw the improvements from Throne of Glass to ACOTAR, and I've seen her writing improve as she's gone along. So I am really excited, and I'm fairly certain I'm going to like this. Just not this year. The next one was City of Lost Fortunes. This is an urban fantasy set in New Orleans, I believe. I don't know why I haven't picked it up. I genuinely don't know why I haven't picked this one up. I just didn't. Then there was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This one I think is a bit like Bear and the Nightingale. It's just such a popular, well-loved book. If you go into Storygraph, I think it currently has a rating of like 4.55, which is insane. It is the highest rated book on my TBR shelves right now. I think it's just too popular. I will read it eventually. Every time I go to pick it up, I'm just like, but what if I don't like it? It's so popular. Do I trust what every single person is telling me? Because I've not heard anything bad about it. Curse my brain. The next one is The First Woman. I picked this up. I was so excited when I bought it. Every time I pick up on the shelf, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to read that pretty soon. And for the last year, for a year solid, I've been telling myself that's going to be one of the next books I pick up. It's never the next book I pick up. What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me, guys? Okay, so the next one was Small Pleasures. It's a lot more literary than what I normally read. I did start it, and I very quickly paused and put it down. I think because I kept telling myself I have to read this because it's on this list, so I have to read this. But it's also, I very quickly realised that it's going to be one of those books where if I'm in the right mood, this is going to be a 5-star read. I am really going to enjoy this book. I know I'm going to enjoy this book. If I'm not in the right mood, I am going to despise this book. So I have just sort of been waiting for like this very unique, specific, this book mood. It just didn't happen this year. Then we have The Gilded Ones. I don't know why. It looks at me on my TBR shelf going, look how pretty I am, because I've got a really pretty copy. It's got these brilliant like green sprayed edges. It's absolutely stunning. I don't hear a lot of people talking about it, so I can't even blame that aspect of my annoying personality, but hey, I just, I haven't read it. The last book on the list, I actually read the last book on the list, and that was Mexican Gothic. I actually got the hardback copy from a friend, so she really enjoyed it, but she wanted the paperback, so she gave me the hardback, and I read it. It was okay. For all of that, I get through like 12 books, 11 books. I didn't read it. The one book from this list, and it was okay. It was okay. It just wasn't quite what I wanted it to be. I feel like it had a lot more potential than it lived up to. I wasn't enamored with the main character. She kind of annoyed me a little bit, but I could forgive that from like the situation and how she'd been raised. I found the mystery aspect of it kind of predictable. Like, it's like, oh, we don't know what's causing this, and I'm like, well, that. I found that kind of obvious. And there is like the magical, fantastical element to it, which, quite frankly, it could have done without. It, if you'd taken away the magical element of it, like mystical, fantastical, whatever element of it, like you'd have had to make very, very minor changes to the plot, and I honestly think it would have been a much better read. Like for me, I know a lot of people really like this book, and I can definitely understand why. I would have made minor tweaks, and for me, it would have elevated it so much more. So yeah, those are the 12 books that I said I was going to read this year, and the one book that I did. I mean, can we kind of count Lies of Locke Lamora? I definitely gave it a shot. I definitely tried. So, you know. Yeah. That is the closest you will ever get to me doing a TBR. And now you all understand exactly why I do not do TBRs. Because my TBRs become WBRs. Won't be read. It's just how it goes, guys. I'm fickle. It's just my brain, honestly. But anyway, moving away from specific book goals, I did set myself a bunch of goals. So yeah, let's talk about that one last, because that was a success. Hey. But yeah. So there were two goals that kind of tied in together. First off, I put myself on a book buying ban with exceptions. No, I think I lasted 4 months. Which, in itself, 4 months without buying a book is... I take that as a win. I will say that rather than just not buying books, I was a lot more selective of what I bought this year. I think so my exceptions were if I were continuing a series that I was really enjoying, and also my book subscriptions. They were my exceptions to my book buying ban. I did cancel I started the year with 3 subscriptions. I have cancelled one of them. I now only have 2. So I started the year, I had my Mr. B subscription, my Fairy Loot subscription, and my Box of Stories subscription. I cancelled my Box of Stories subscription because although it's given me some absolutely beautiful reads, it was giving me like 5 books every 2 months, and when you average about 5 books a month, I wasn't getting through them. There are still so many of them sitting on my bookshelf. So I think and that's a subscription like I'll buy it maybe like once a year as a one-off, just for like let's just see what randomness I get. It's a brilliant idea. It is saving books going from pulp, but I just don't read enough to warrant it. So I did cancel that one. And with the exception of my books, the books that I have bought this year, I have been reading. I think there's maybe like 3 or 4 on my shelves upstairs that I've added to this year out with subscriptions that I've not read, but the majority of the books that I bought this year, I have actually read. So yeah, I was a lot more selective in what I was buying. So I think like going forward, like next year, that will be rather than like don't just buy anything that catches your eye. Just be like, right, actually only buy when you're in the mood for something new, and make a concentrated like a concentrated effort. Is that the right word? Um, to actually read the books as you're buying them. We'll see how that goes. um, but yeah, but sort of tied into that, I did also do my books to pounds goal. So I said to myself, for every book that I finish, I will transfer £2 from my current account into a little savings pot. That was my books to pounds. Yeah, books to pounds savings pot. And I did that throughout the year. The first couple of months, any month that I did not buy a book, other than my subscriptions, I also put an extra fiver in. And by November, I had about 150 quid sitting in that pot. Now, by November, I was also thinking to myself, so the idea of this savings pot was, right, if I don't buy books throughout the year, I can just go on one really good spending splurge. But because I have been buying books throughout the year, there's nothing out right now that I'm like, I can't wait to get my hands on that. And if there are books like that, they're on pre-order, and like the only reason I don't have my hands on them is because they've not been published or there's been delays in the publishing. I'm looking at you, Seven Seas. So what I decided was, rather than go on a book buying spree, because I don't need to, I used that money to uh, buy the majority of my Christmas presents this year. Um, and it felt good, guys. It felt good knowing that like I'd saved up throughout the year, and there was just like this pot of money that was, it meant that I wasn't spending as much in November and December from of my disposable income. I wasn't basically spending like using all of that for Christmas presents. It just, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like my Christmas shopping this year didn't feel as bad on my bank account. So I think next year I'm going to continue doing the same. I'm basically from January to November, for every book I read, £2 will go into my books to pounds pot, and mid-November onwards, I'll use that money to pay for my Christmas presents for everybody. So I am counting those as a semi-win and a total win. After that, another goal I said I was going to do. Another goal that I set myself was to read my book subscription books. I read about half of them, just short of half of them, but oh, sorry, very bright there. By the looks of it, like I've gone through my shelf, I've gone like, okay, I got you, I got you, I got you, and I've like compared them. I read about half of them, just short of half of them. So, I mean, given that we've established if I tell myself I've got to read a book, then I'm not going to read it. I'm really, really happy with that. Yeah, so happy. And I'm telling you, like, I think with two notable exceptions out of 27 books, not including the box of stories ones, only two books that I picked up from them between Mr. Bees and Fairy Loot. Only two of them were duds. One made me very angry, and one I got really bored halfway through because it got really predictable. Yeah, I've really enjoyed everything I've got from them, so I'm definitely continuing with those subscriptions. And yeah, I'm quite happy with that. I did tell myself I was going to read more nonfiction this year. In 2021, I didn't read any. I read one this year. Technically, that's a win. I did want to read two or three. I read one short nonfiction. But still, I think I kept looking at my nonfiction, like my pile of unread nonfiction books, and was just like, I have to read nonfiction. So naturally, I did not read nonfiction. So yeah, next year I'm not setting myself any specific reading goals. I'm going to set myself a number goal, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Again, because I like seeing that little percentage go up on Storycraft, and that's the only reason I'm going to set myself that goal. But yeah, thing specific, like read these books or read this kind of book. It's just not going to happen. It was a good experiment this year. I've learned a lot. I've confirmed a lot about my reading tastes and how fickle my brain is. But yeah. So yeah, the last goal that I set myself for 2022 was I wanted to read my height. In 2021, I think it worked out I read 50, it was a 52 or 53 books. And I was about, I think I was about this much off reading my height. So I set myself a reading goal of 60 books, going, if I can read 60 books, I will comfortably have read my height. I read 66 this year. At time of filming, and it is the 30th of December filming this, we'll hopefully get this up tomorrow morning, I've read 66 books. I've only just started my 67th one, so I'm fairly certain I'm not going to finish it this year. I'm not going to have that much reading time between tomorrow. I've got one day left. Oh, wow, we've got one day left of the year. Okay. This is going up on the last day of the year. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not going to get that finished. So, I've read 66 books. The books that I have read that I own are currently in my bedroom, stacked up against my wardrobe, and they come up to sort of like about my ribs. They're about half of what I read, maybe a little bit more than half. So when you then take into account, I've not properly measured like in inches and feet in inches, but I think if I were to then add the audiobooks that I've read, the library books that I've read, the books I borrowed from friends, the ebooks that I've read, if I were to then add books of equivalent page numbers, which is what I did last year, to that pile, I know I do not need to. I know I read my height this year. And guys, it feels good. It's such a weird goal. It's such a weirdly specific goal, and I can't even remember why I got it into my head, but for years I've wanted to do this, and I am so freaking pleased, and I'm so pleased and chuffed with myself. I did it. I read my height. Yay! So, yeah. But going forward, it means that next year I don't have to have this random pile of books on the floor waiting to be read, or that have been read, just waiting to go on my bookshelves. It means that as I read them, I can then transfer them onto my bookshelves. That's going to be refreshing. My bookshelves aren't going to look exactly the same for the next year. They're actually going to become fluid like they used to. I mean, I say semi-fluid. They are in alphabetical order by author and then in series publication date. Because this is the one area of my life I'm very, very organised in. My bookshelves have got to be in a very good order. It's just what I'm up to. It's just what I'm like. Yeah. But yeah, it does mean that now, going forward, when I finish reading a book, I can put it on the shelf in its appropriate place. It can go back onto its forever home on the shelves, and happy Amy. Happy Amy is happy. Yeah. It's going to be a good reading year next year, I think. So yeah, am I setting myself any goals for next year? Keep going off. Stop going off. Not really. No. I was thinking like the start of in a few days, maybe next week at some point, I was like, oh, I should do my 2023 reading goals because I see a lot of those videos coming up. And I was like, I don't have any goals for next year. Next year is a complete free-for-all. I'm going to set my story graph. The only goal I'm going to set myself is my story graph goal will be set at 65. Because I think the chance, I know I'm totally jinxing myself at this point. Excuse me. But the chances of having a 2-month reading slump next year, relatively slim. Right? So I think if I hadn't had that, like I remember chatting to a colleague in November, the start of November, and she's like, how many books have you read? And I think I was like just over the 60 mark. I think it was like 61, 62 at that point. And yeah, we were both sitting there agreeing, but like, oh yeah, I'll definitely hit the 70 mark by the end of the year. No problem. I think that's what jinxed it. That's how I jinxed myself. That's what happened. what can I do? What can I do? So yeah, I'm gonna set my Storygraph reading goal for 65 books. But that's not a solid number. That can be adjusted at any point throughout the year. And that is just because I like every time I put the book I hit read, I like seeing the little percentage number go up. I just like seeing it. That's a self-satisfaction thing. Yeah. But other than that, I don't have any specific reading goals. As like a channel goal, I want to start doing book reviews again because I've completely fallen out of that habit. And they are some of my favorite videos. I mean, my review of The Imaginary Corpse. I had so much fun just waxing lyrical about that book. I love that book, guys. Read it. Go read it. So yeah, I want to get back in the habit of doing more book reviews. So I was thinking about getting myself like a reading journal so that I can start taking notes on each book I read. I can't annotate a book. I cannot bring myself. I'll break a spine. Heresy, controversy, I know, but I will break the spine of a book to make it easier to read. No problem. But you will not find me highlighting any lines. You will not find me writing in the margins. You will not find me dog-earing the page. Like, no. Just no. So I thought if I get myself a wee reading journal and I can just write down notes about the book, my thoughts as I get them, that could work. And then Fairy Loot, they provided for me, and they actually gave us, in November, we got this really pretty reading journal. It's kind of like an off cream with a hint of green. It's really, really pretty. So it has like a page per book. So what I'm thinking is starting in January, I'm just going to start filling that in, see how I get on with. I'm not going to hold myself to it. If I find I'm not enjoying it, I'm not going to. But we'll see how I get on with that. And I'm hoping that if I can be taking notes on books and just like my general thoughts and feelings, it's not going to be like, oh, this is like the most amazing prose ever, because you know I don't give those kind of reviews. My reviews are all like, this book made me happy. Read it because it made me happy. It made me feel this. I adore this character. But if I can get into the habit of doing notes as I go, hopefully it'll just help me get back into the habit of being able to collate my thoughts and tell you guys my thoughts on a book. So yeah, I think like as a channel goal, I want to be doing at least one book review a month just to slowly get back into that habit. So we'll see how that goes. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah. But other than that, that is my review. That is my 2020 review. Oh wait, no. We were going to go through my Storygraph stats because I find them fascinating. I know some people are like, ugh, stats. But I find it fascinating. So let's just go through it very, very quickly, briefly. Depending on how tech savvy I am feeling, I might put the pie charts and things up here. I might not. We'll see how I feel in the morning. I am driving down to Dunfermline to spend Hogmanay and New Year's Day with a friend. So I'm driving down there at lunchtime. So we'll see how much I have to do in the morning and how much time I can actually realistically give to editing. Because, you know, we know I don't like editing and my editing is minimal at best. But anyway, I'm diverged. The stats. So yeah, I read 66 books this year, which is the equivalent of 22,514 pages and 119.62 hours. So that's not too shabby. And this is the one I find the most fascinating. So in 2021, my top moods, according to Storygraph, were, I think they were emotional, dark, and adventurous, and then everything else was like tiny little slithers. Adventurous has just short of a third of the pie, followed by emotional. Together, those two make up like half of that pie chart of my moods. And then they're followed by lighthearted and funny. Then we get mysterious and dark. So yeah, I think I mentioned earlier that my moods, like, I've been gravitating so hard, like so much towards just nice, fluffy, light-hearted reads that are just going to make me feel good and make me smile and make me laugh. I've not wanted anything too dark and heavy this year. I think I've read a lot more fantasy romance this year compared to other years where I tend to focus more just on the fantasy, and I know Fairy Loot has definitely helped towards that. But yeah, I just find this absolutely fascinating. Like almost a quarter of my power chart of this like mood pie chart on Storygraph is lighthearted and funny, which and dark is like so far away, so far away. It's like that is yeah, I don't think this has been a normal reading year for me. It's been a very good reading year. I have really enjoyed my reading so far, like my reading this year, but not normal. Pace wise, pretty typical of what I would have expected. The majority of what I read is sort of like medium or fast, with 9% of my reads being quite slow. I've been going for the quick, easy reads. That makes sense. And page numbers, 75% between 3 and 500. Pretty, like 75% are standard books, 9% are chonkers, and 16% are less than 300, but there were 4 mangas in there, so yeah, that's skewed a wee bit, I think. Audiobook length is a very even, completely even split between less than 8 hours, 8 to 16 hours, and massive 16 plus hours. Non-fiction, 2%. We've already discussed that. My top genres, totally expected. Nothing shocking here. My top genre. So my top 5 genres are fantasy, romance. I've read a lot of fantasy romance this year. YA. Well, Fairy Loot is a YA subscription box, and they're there's some really good nice YAs out there. They've got LGBTQIA plus. I started the year off with a bit more LGBTQ plus content in my books, and then I discovered MXTX. And I discovered the Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation and Scum Villain, and yeah, next year I'm going to start Heaven Officials, so I'm not surprised that that is my 4th most read genre. And then after that, this is the only one that kind of surprises me, because my 5th most read genre, with 12 books in it, is contemporary. I don't read a lot of contemporary. I didn't think I read a lot of contemporary books, but yeah, apparently this year I have read a wee bit more. And then I think about it, it's like I have read some Emily Henry, there's been some Beth O'Leary, I discovered Rainbow Rowell. There's been contemporary romance, Ali Hazelwood. So, like, when I think about it, it makes sense, but yeah, contemporary, like, last year it was like one of the, right down at the bottom, like I'd read maybe 1 or 2, so that I find quite interesting. Format, will be no surprise, 80% is print. I have a Kindle. I do occasionally use it. It got used this year when I was in Italy, when I was on holiday, because I had a backpack worth of stuff to take. There. Apparently 15% audio, but I feel like I started the year reading a lot of on audio, and then I think like towards summer, in the last few months, I've not read as much. So actually, no, that does make a bit of sense. And then the last one is my most read authors. Any of my last like dozen or so videos that I've produced this year, you know my most read author is MXTX, Mojang Tongju. I apologize, I have just butchered that name. MXTX. I read 7 books by her, so I read the 4 available volumes of Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, and I've read the first 3 volumes of Scum Villain. I've started the 4th volume, which is, so the first 3 volumes are the story, and the 4th volume is like a whole bunch of extras. So I'm just very, very slowly going through the extras, just because the way volume 3 ended, these extras have a lot to make up for, and I'm kind of scared I don't think they will. After that, Sarah J. Maas and Nalini Singh tie on 4 books. I binged Akatar, and I have been slowly, every couple of months, I have been working my way through the Side Changeling series by Nalini Singh, which they've just been a bit of fun. They've been a lot of fun. And then tied for 3rd place, we have got Marie Brennan That was the Natural History of Dragons series that I finished towards the start of the year. Beth O'Leary. I read 3. I also technically read 4, but I DNF'd one. So I read The Road Trip, which was really fun. I reread The Flat Share, and then I read her latest one, The No Show. I really enjoyed The No Show. I loved the way they jumped back and forth. That was really, really good. I tried to read The Switch, but the younger of the main characters, the granddaughter, really, really annoyed me to the point she was making me really angry, so I had to put it down. So I was like, no. So yeah, she should have been tied second place, but DNFs don't count. Then we've got Tamora Pierce. During a road trip down to Alton Towers, the start of May, I think it was, my friend and I, we were listening to The Protector of the Small Quartet. I've just realised I never did get around to listening to the 4th book again. So maybe later. And then Hiroto Bada, he did this lovely little self-contained trilogy that was called Stitch and the Samurai. And the whole the premise of that is essentially like, how would Lilo and Stitch have happened? How would that film have gone? If instead of landing in modern day Hawaii, Stitch landed in feudal era Japan. Fun and chaos ensues. It was brilliant. Yeah. So yeah, that was my 2022 reading. All in all, yeah, like I said, all in all, I'm happy with my reading this year. I've had a very, very good. I've had quite a lot of 5 stars. This isn't telling me about my 5 stars. Oh wait, haha, it does. Haha. Okay, we don't want to look at the graph of like my number of books, pages, and minutes because it goes like this and then not like that. It's fairly steady, and then November and December just plummets, so we don't need to look at that. Overall, yeah, like it's confirming that I've had a very good reading year. I've really enjoyed most of what I read. My books, I've given an average rating of 4.3. I gave 19 books 5 stars. Now bear in mind, I don't rate books on, okay, this was excellently written, the metaphors they used was this. I don't critique books. I'm not going to give you like literary critical analysis. It's not going to happen. I rate books on how they make me feel. If I had a really, really good time reading this book, even if I can think of a bunch of criticisms like this didn't really work and I would have changed this, if ultimately it left me feeling really good and I had an excellent time reading it, then I'm going to rate it really highly. Yeah, that's how it works. So yeah, 19 books with 5 stars, 6 books at 4.5 stars, 23 books were 4 stars, and then it contrasted the opposite end of the scale. 1 book got 2 stars. Realistically, I should have given it 1, but I felt too bad. I did finish it off after all, you know? It had promise that it failed to live up to. Anyway, I am going to shut up because I have probably rambled on longer than I expected to, and I do still have at least 1 more video to film tonight. So yeah, I'm just going to wrap it up there. I had an excellent reading year, and I hope you guys did too. Let me know about your reading year in the comment if you want to. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!